What is up, guys? Big Red here. Today I'm coming at you with a MTG deck tech. It's going to be a modern deck, my modern deck that I play. It is my pet deck. It is my favorite archetype. It is Goblins. Now, I've played Goblins, this deck in particular, for a couple months now. But I've played Goblins ever since I started playing Magic. That was my first deck. It was a mono-red Goblins deck. Ran Goblin Gods. That was in Standard, so it was janky, but it was fun. So, here's this deck. It's actually pretty decently competitive. First of all, we're starting off with 4 Goblin Gods. Beautiful 1-drop in the deck. 1-drop 2/2 with haste. Whenever Goblin God attacks, you know Goblin God. The downside, that land thing, it's not too terrible. You just know what's coming up next. It's actually really good against Delver decks, I've noticed, which is really cool because you can see what's going to come next. Then we have a playset of our Legion Loyalist. It is another 1-drop, 1/1 with haste, but he has Battalion, and whenever he attacks, with 2 other creatures, they gain first strike. They all gain first strike, trample, and can't be blocked by tokens, which is really cool against a token deck. If you're playing up against a token deck, the trample and the first strike, especially with the Anthem effects that we have in the deck, it just works really well. Next, for 1-drops, we have Foundry Street Denizen. Foundry Street Denizen is, again, another 1/1 for 1. But he is a beautiful turn 1 play. Whenever another red creature enters the battlefield under my control, he gets +1/+0. So even if he's in your first hand and you have a Goblin God in your first hand, you can go Denizen first turn, Goblin God second turn, swing in for 4. That's if you only have 1 land and 1 Goblin God. So it gets pretty insane, especially with another card that's going to be coming up. And you'll see it in a second. So that's my 1-drop slot. I have another card in the 1-drop slot, but it's essentially not a 1-drop. And that's going to be a playset of Goblin Bushwhackers. Bushwhacker, he is also a 1/1 for 1, but he can be kicked for 1. Whenever he enters the battlefield, if he is kicked, he gets +1/+0, and all creatures get +1/+0 and gain haste. Card is insane. So essentially, you want to play it as a 2-drop. There are some occasions where you have to play it as a 1-drop, but it kind of sucks if you do. So he is a 2-drop essentially. So I like to think of him as a 2-drop slot. Next card, Mogg War Marshal. That's my next 2-drop. Card's insane. He is a 1/1 for 2, but whenever he comes in, you get a red goblin, and whenever he dies, you get a red goblin. So essentially, he's 3 creatures for 2 mana. Echo, that Echo cost, you pay it sometimes. If you don't have a play, you can pay it and keep him. Or if you don't have the play, or if you do have a play, you can just sacrifice it. Say you have like a Goblin Bushwhacker or something in your hand. You can not pay it and then give that token that comes out when he dies haste anyway, so it actually works really well. And then we have one more card that essentially is another 2-drop, and that's going to be Reckless Bushwhacker. I love my playset of Reckless Bushwhackers. This is my variation of 8-whack. I call it Atarka Bushes, because I love the Bushwhackers. They're really fun cards. They're essentially a Goblin Bushwhacker, except for it's all other creatures. Goblin Bushwhacker does all creatures. So I really like it. It's another one of those things with Goblin Bushwhacker. Kind of like Goblin Bushwhacker, you don't want to run. You don't want to run it out for 3, but you can if you have to. It just kind of sucks if you do. So that's the 2/3 drops, or the 2-drop slot. And the next card in the deck, to even out the curve just a little bit, 2 Chieftains. I've almost thought about dropping these 2 Chieftains just at the fact that you have so many Anthem effects in this deck that it's insane. You really honestly don't need it. The coolest thing about it is whenever he gives haste. That's the coolest thing. You can go turn 1, Foundry Street Denizen, turn 2, Goblin Guide and Loyalist, and then go turn 3 Chieftain, and it's just insane. Or even turn 1 Foundry Street Denizen, turn 2 Mogg War Marshal, turn 3 Chieftain, then that your token that if you don't pay the echo cost, the token that you get gains haste, and that's pretty sick. But running a 4 of is just too high. The mana curve is very low in this deck, just because, like I said, everything is like either 1 or 2. That's honestly the only card that you are gonna play for 3, hopefully. But I couldn't see myself cutting all of them, so he is a 2 of in the deck. Now that is all of my creatures. An insanely high creature count, but it's goblins, you know. It's just, that's the way it is. You run out a bunch of goblins and you go wide, or you just swing in for a bunch of stuff. So now I'm going to get to my instance. First, obviously, I'm playing red in Modern. You have to run a playset of lightning bolts. It's just, you have to. It helps out with the surge cost of Reckless Bushwhacker. It's just you have to. If you're running red, you have to run lightning bolt. That's the way it is. There's no better burn spell, and except for maybe this next card. It's pretty decent too. Atarka's Command. 4 of Atarka's Command. I love the card. I've loved the card ever since, you know, Atarka Red was a thing. Your opponent can't gain life this turn, which is actually pretty useful in some circumstances, especially if you know, somebody brings in like a Core Firewalker or something like that, in which, you know, protection from red, or not protection from red, but Core Firewalker, because, you know, they can gain life. They can't gain life that turn. And it's also really good against a card of Mill. I can't remember what the card is, but it's just insane. Deals 3 damage. Like I said, that's essentially a bolt, except for 1 extra mana, but you get to choose 2, so it's pretty insane. The one option that you're never probably going to use is you may put a land card from your hand on the battlefield. I mean, it's circumstantial. I mean, I feel like I have used it at some point, but you're most likely going to use the 1, 2, or 3. Normally, it's going to be the 2 and 4th, or the 1, 2, and 4. Normally, it's the 2 and 4th ones, just because deal 3 damage and creatures you control get +1/+1. That's insane. So yeah, that's going to be my instant slot, or my instance. As you can see, like I said, the mana curve in this deck is very low. You're trying to get a lot of stuff out at one time. And honestly, my sorcery slot, 4 of Goblin Grenades. The card is insane, especially if you can play, you know, I've won many games with Goblin Grenade just to the fact that if I can go, oh, Mogg War Marshal, you know, oh, you're at 5 life, Mogg War Marshal, sacrifice token, you lose 5, you lose? The card's insane, especially if you can run. I mean, you can essentially win the game just with Goblin Grenades. You don't even have to attack with creatures. If you can get out a couple Mogg War Marshals or a couple Goblin Guides, it's almost game over. I mean, it's insane. So that's going to be my sorceries. Now we're going to move on to the lands. I play a ridiculously high land count for this deck for aggro, just because Mill is very popular. Well, actually, Mill is... A buddy of mine plays Mill, and he plays a Mill card where it's like, mill until you mill out 4 lands, and he's like, wow, you run an insanely high amount of lands. And usually that card wins me games. And so, first of all, I'm going to go with a 4 of Copperline Gorge. If you don't know what it is, when it enters the battlefield tapped unless I control 2 or fewer other lands. It's fast land. It's really good in aggro. I find myself playing the 4 of just because having one of those in your if you have one of those in your first hand, great. If you have 2 of them in your first hand, I mean, you're essentially going to get all the mana you need. The deck can run off of 2 mana. The deck can run off of 3 mana. The deck could run off of 1 mana. It just sucks really bad. Usually I'm keeping 2 landers at least, just because 2 mana is almost an ideal slot. So, Copperline Gorges, I run some fetches. I run a playset of Wooded Foothills and a playset of Bloodstained Mires just because. I mean, honestly, it just thins the deck, gets you to the creatures that you need. They work really well. I find this deck works really, really well. There are only a few matchups where it kind of sucks, which honestly I haven't run into anything. You know, I lost against Jund, but Jund, the next week I won 2-0. So it just depends on the matchup. But yeah, the fetches, you know, you're going to be able to fetch pretty much red and green with the Bloodstained Mires. You're going to be able to fetch red and green with the Wooded Foothills. So those are going to be the, I mean, it's just insane fetch lands. You know, you might as well run them. In an aggro deck, you're not really worried about life. And then there are some matchups when it kind of sucks, so you don't find yourself fetching as much. But I do run a decent amount of basics and a decent amount of non-basics that are fetches. I'm at I believe 26 land. 22 lands. So it's decently high for aggro. So yeah, it works really well. I've found for me. So yeah, those are going to be the essentially non-basics. I mean, I have a couple more non-basics, but those are just the order that they went. And now I have my 4 Stomping Grounds. You have to play Stomping Grounds if you're playing red, green, and fetches. You have to play them. And then I have my basics. 5 mountains, 4 forests. They are the unglued. I love the unglued lands. And the land count that I was running, I actually only have a couple of these lands. So I was like, the land count works. I love it. It works really well. So running the unglued land. I'm running the 1 forest just in case the Blood Moon matchup. It doesn't happen. Like, I've never had it happen to me, but I run it just in case because you never know when you're going to run into it. The biggest thing is finding that green mana. Getting that green mana. I have lots of sources of green mana, as you can tell. Just because Atarka's Command is so insane in the deck. I mean, it's one of the namesake cards in the deck because I call it Atarka's Bushes. So you're running, you know, your 8 Bushwhackers and you're running your 4 playset of Atarka's Command. So that is the deck. It's really fun and I love playing it. I've never had any issues with it. I don't know if it's competitive level. I've always played it at like we do Thursday Night Modern at my local gaming store, so I've always played it there, and it's always ran really well. I love the deck, but I'm gonna move on to the sideboard now. Let me get all this stuff out of the way. The sideboard and tokens. I'm really proud of my tokens. I really like my tokens. So I'm gonna start off with the tokens. Obviously, it's gonna be I just have 4 tokens. But these are special to me. This one I really like because it reminds me of Kung Fu Panda, so I always run one of Kung Fu Panda Goblin. These 2 were from an Aaron Miller Kickstarter. They're really cool art. They were art by Aaron Miller. This one was one that he actually somebody had got him to do for them, and then this was the one for the actual Kickstarter. These are both signed by him. I got the gold signed copies. And then this one is a Goblin token from Josh Krause's, what's it called? Magic Art Kickstarter. I run these just because they're unique. That's one of my biggest things about Magic is it's very unique. You can run whatever lands you want to run. You know, as long as you have the money and you can run your lands, you can run your tokens, stuff like that. That's where you customize it. That's where you run things. You can get the different printing, stuff like that. So that's really cool to me. So with my sideboard, it's kind of all over the place, not really. But I run 2 forked bolts because they're really good against the Infect matchup. I run 4 Skullcracks because Skullcrack, the card's insane. It's like a lightning bolt except for can't give him life and damage can't be prevented, which is insane in a lot of matchups. Run 4 Piledrivers just for the Merfolk matchup or any other random blue matchup. The card has won me many games against Merfolk. Siege Gang Commander going wide. Krenko going wide. And Anger of the Gods for anybody that's going wide. Krenko Siege Gang Commander. I actually got the tip from a guy that plays Jund. he was like, oh man, if you go wide, you really essentially can't do anything about it. So Siege Gang Commander creates, a bunch of tokens. It's essentially you're getting 4 creatures for 5 mana. It's just insane. Krenko, obviously, you tap it to get tokens. It works really well with the Siege Gang Commanders and the Mogg War Marshals and stuff like that. So the deck, I play around with the sideboard just depending on whoever I know is there that night. Just about local meta. It's all about that. If you're not playing competitive, you can play around with the sideboard. You can play around with the main deck. Just figure out, what's good for your local meta. And that's what I've done. I've got, Smash to Smithereens that are possibilities. I've got Rift Bolts that are in the possibility. It just depends on who's there that night and stuff like that. It's just fun. It's something that I love. I love this deck. I love running the deck. I've never had any consistency issues or anything like that. So I figured it would just be kind of cool to share with you guys. And yeah, so if you decide that you want to run this deck, I will put a deck list in the description. And yeah, just let me know how you like it. And if you would like, comment, subscribe. Give me some comments. Let me know what's going on. Let me know what you run. If you run a deck similar to this, let me know what I could have done better. Stuff like that. I'm working on lighting. That's the reason why it's kind of weird. That these sleeves have very different glares. But I do like this lighting better than my deck box review. It works out really well. That those hollow Goblin Piledrivers look really cool under that lighting. But unfortunately, these are not matte sleeves, so they glare a little bit. So yeah, just let me know, and I will talk to you guys later.